my little glasses that I need to hear you. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I know I have my Bluetooth glasses. I'm not even sure if it's on or not on. Either way, and lighting is kind of janky today too. It's all good. I want to still come live now because if I don't do it now, I'm going to forget. And I want to leave you with this message. Literally, I was working with some colleagues and we were talking all about expressive and receptive and what makes you an effective communicator. And we've learned this as speech language pathologists. We learned all about this concept that includes language, like what makes language. And two of the key things that makes language is expressive and receptive. But a lot of layman people or regular folks around don't know or don't understand the concept of expressive and receptive and how it comes into play with how we communicate with others, whether, like I mentioned yesterday, whether it's our family, whether it's our friends, whether it is with our colleagues, whether it is with our team, whether we're speaking, whatever it is, wherever it is where communication is coming into play, we got to tap back into these two specific things so that you can be clear where the breakdown is and where you want to work on improving. Right? You can't improve it unless you're aware of, okay, what's not happening the way I want it to go, where's the breakdown, and how can I improve this. So let's look at expressive first, which is what most of us know, right? Expressive is how we express ourselves, how we are able to take a message and deliver it. And there's so many different ways of expressive language that it goes beyond just verbal conversation. It goes beyond language, whether you speak a different language or you speak English. I'm speaking English right now. Is a concept of really taking whatever thoughts and ideas that you have in your mind and getting it out there. Now, expressive can be done through visual. It could be done through art. It can be done through writing. It can be done through sign language. It can be done through your body language. There's so many ways you can express yourself and express your thoughts without it always only being. I'm trying to find that lighting because this glare is bothering me, without it always only being talking, right? And actually, most of us actually interpret more body language and nonverbal expressive cues. We usually use that to really understand everything of what a person is saying. Sometimes it's not just listening or not just being able to say what you're saying, but also the things that go along with it that will help you to get your message across. So, keys in point: if you're speaking in front of others, if you want to have that public speaking, if you want to express yourself, please note that it's not just the verbal that's coming out of your mouth. It can be your facial context or clues that you're using. It could be the tone of your voice. It could be the inflection, how you turn it up, how you turn it down. Sometimes you can say that one sentence and you end it with bringing it down in your tone or volume, and it's a sentence. But if you bring it up in inflection, then people are wondering if it's a question. So all of these things we want to pay attention to when we want to have effective communication. Is we want to start navigating our tone. We want to start navigating our pitch. Hi, Shamika. Nice to see you. Any communication questions, ask, because I'm not always going to be doing communication. But since someone asked me this question, like, how do I have better communication? I just wanted to break it down in terms of how we learned it in terms of school and how I began to identify it and how it comes into play for me in every aspect, whether I'm even speaking right now and or if I'm speaking in another space, or if I'm writing or expressing myself in many different directions. I want to be aware that this is the expressive part of communication. It's me taking whatever it's in my mind and it's coming out. Now, when one aspect isn't working, if I can't verbally communicate myself, like if we're placed in a space where you can't speak, some of us will use texting or writing, or using our facial cues to convey our thoughts, and just using different aspects, our body language, just understanding that communication is not just the words that are coming out of your mouth, but you can use so many other ways to enhance your communication, to make your communication better, or to use instead of, right? So, simple concept that I wanted to bring. In addition to expressive, there's receptive now. So now how are we listening? How are we taking in? The first one is being able to get the thoughts out. The next one is, how are we taking it in? Many of us are great with expressing. We want to talk, we want to share, we want to get all the information out, but are we truly listening? Are we taking time out to receive the information? How are we receiving the information? Are we tuning in? Are we leaning in? Are we paying attention? Because receptive is not only our ears, receptive can be our eyes, right? Paying attention to what we're seeing. Receptive can also be our body, our intuition, how we feel when we're having conversations with others. So all of that comes into play to effective communication and understanding the receptive aspect of it. So I just wanted to come in and just share a little bit about the behind the scenes of, I can break it down in some of the ways, and I will at another time, but today I just wanted to break it down into the simplicity of receptive language and expressive language, and how when you want to be an effective communicator, you want to be aware of, am I being receptive right now, or am I being expressive right now? And if I'm being expressive, how am I expressing what it is that it's in my mind? Am I expressing only through words? Am I expressing, can I use an alternative mode? When one part is down or one part's not working, feel free to lean on another part. Now, here's what happens in our world today. We are so caught up in texting, we're so caught up in the written concept of expressing, that a lot of meaning can get lost into the expressive and receptive. And I'll get into meaning and semantics a whole different day. We're not even going to break that down. But I want you to be aware. Sometimes you would type a text to someone, or you would write something to someone, and they wouldn't they won't receive what it is that you were intending, right? So you want to really use as many additional cues to help them in understanding your intended thought. That's how you know when you have an effective communicator, when what you're expressing is being received by the other person exactly the way you intended. If they're not receiving it the way you intended, then you begin to question, wait a minute, did I express it the best way I can? Written expression, especially texting these days, which is the whole number one way of many people communication, we tend to lose a lot of effective meaning in that aspect. So I always say, in addition to typing or texting, you want to get on a phone call. You want to make sure you're doing the verbal expression. You want to watch your tone and how you're saying things. You want to make sure you hear your own inflection on things, or the way you're taking it down, or really taking the time out to be very aware of what it is that you have inside that you want to convey to the other person. And then turn it around by asking, one second, then turn around by asking, are you receiving? Are you understanding what it is that I'm saying? Now, receptive space, people can hear you and people can read what you're saying. That's another mode of receptive. But are they truly understanding? That's the semantic. That's where receptive and expressive meet in the middle. That's where you want to make sure the things that I'm trying to get out of my mouth and the person that's hearing on the other side, are they truly on the same wavelength? That is the connection and the message being conveyed the way intended. And that's where a lot of breakdown happens. So we'll talk some more about that, but I really just wanted to give some really basics in terms of expressive, in terms of receptive, in terms of being more aware. How to be an effective communicator is first to be more aware of where am I right now in this part of conversation. Am I in the expressive modality, or am I in the receptive modality? And what can I do to be better at getting my message across, and or making sure that they are understanding what I'm trying to convey. When there's a breakdown, then we can talk some more about the breakdowns in that aspect. And this can happen in so many ways that you're like, wait a minute, that's not the message I intended. That's not what I meant to say. But when people are in a different modality and how they feel, and when you have other things that are coming into play, then the whole thing of language and communication can get broken down, and there's no connectivity in terms of communication. But awareness is key. Being intentional with how you communicate is key. Being intentional with, am I doing the best at being expressive at this moment? And are there things that I can do to improve my expressive modality of communicating? And or am I being receptive at this moment? And being aware, are there things that I can do to be a better receptive part of this communication. Now, I know it may not be what you came in for, but thank me later. These are small, simple strategies that can make you the most effective communicator. Once again, it's Dr. Ali. Anytime, anytime, anytime you're looking for modalities on how to improve your communication, be a better CEO, professional in the space, then pop back in and check out some of our lives and or our videos, and make sure you're subscribed, and let me know if you have any questions or if there's any breakdowns and you need to reach out to me individually, then leave me a message also. Hope you become a better and a more effective communicator out there. And it's okay to make mistakes. It's all good. Just be aware.